Hey everybody, this is Pierce Fraser. It's nice to talk to you again. At the time of shooting this video, we have exceeded our $6,000 goal and are passing our $7,000, which means that we are not only going to succeed in funding, but we will be getting TARs as well. As I mentioned earlier in emails, I was going to fund those as kind of a gift, regardless of whether or not we made it to 7K, but the fact that we've actually gotten there is going to make it a hell of a lot easier. So thank you all for your support, and hopefully in the 8 days we have left, we can continue to push forward to other goals. There's a survey out right now, as you're looking at this, about what goals you'd like at the 8K section, and I will reorder them based on what the backers want. So I think that'll be fun. We can get some cool stuff that you guys are hopefully genuinely interested in. I apologize if my voice gets a little gravelly halfway through this. I'm a little sick right now. But I wanted to show you what fun new thing arrived in the mail today so you can see what you're going to be getting as part of your reward package. So just showed up. What you're looking at here is the Elysium model 3D printed mode with a coat of primer on it after it's been cleaned up a little bit. So this is a little different from what you'll be getting, only because it hasn't been converted to resin yet. The backer reward models are resin-based, makes them much smoother, and they're like that because it's just easier to make them in bulk. This miniature line that we have for HSD is modular, so it's not resin-based because all the minis that come out of it are typically different, but the backer rewards are all the same, and it's more efficient to make those out of resin. But what that results in from your thing is that you get a model that you do have to assemble, but it's smoother, it's cleaner, it goes together with standard super glue. And it is a lot cheaper. It means I can offer the rewards at the level that I offer them at, as opposed to being far more expensive. So here's the model. Just came in today. Sorry, I'll try to focus a little better. There we go, a little bit. Right, it's the bird perched on top of a mechanical hand. If you compare it to the size of other models that are down here, that's the same size base. And I put it on. It doesn't actually come with that hex base. It comes with a small base that I've cut off of there so that I can attach it directly to the other base. But it is sufficient for it to stand on its own, so you don't have to worry about that if you don't have other bases on hand. The one that it comes with is enough. You can see that size-wise, she is smaller, as she should be. To a standard character, so the head's smaller, the body's smaller. But in terms of being a substantial model that you can paint, it's big, it's got a lot of feathers on it. There's lots of pretty detail all in there with the suit, the clothing, the beak, all the different feathers, and that neat mechanical hand that she's perching on, which some of you may recognize if you've actually played the adventure that she comes with, which was the Stars of Orlandria contract. So, in terms of how this is modeled for accuracy, because it's supposed to be a micro character, a smaller character, it is a smaller sculpt, which I like seeing how well that turned out. You can still see definite detail in the beak and the head and all that stuff despite it being smaller, so you get the representation of a smaller person without really losing much. Is she exactly to scale? No, it would have to be awfully small to make that work. Obviously, this bird doesn't really have, a 6-foot wingspan, but this allows you to get the representation of being a smaller creature while still having enough mass for you to paint and play with. And show up nicely on the tabletop. And I think that's really where this model is going to shine, is from angles like this, where you get to play with all these different feathers. The 3D print on this model had a lot of overshot. Just the printer had made droops and stuff like that. It's all cleanable with a knife. You won't have to worry about that with your backer reward model, because the people who convert this to resin do all that ahead of time. So they'll clean it all up, so that it's just this nice smooth thing. What you'll have is a model in a couple pieces because they have to take it out of a mold as opposed to the 3D printer that prints it all from the ground up. You just put it together with super glue like you would any other model. And I'm hoping, I don't know for sure how they're going to do it because they are the experts on converting this to resin cast, not me, but I'm hoping that they will put a seam right there in the torso so that you won't have to worry about the wings. And I think that's probably doable. And then you'll just attach torso to bottom. This model does have a potential weak point there. There's those claws. The ankles that attach it there to the hand are awfully small. I mean, that said, it's not falling apart. I can put it down like this, and it's not breaking or anything like that. But something to look out for. Most models do have a few little touchy areas that you want to be a little careful of. So that would be the only risk area on this one. that I'd look out for. You'll note that this model is blue. The character herself is supposed to be what's called a swallow-tailed kite. It's kind of a black and white bird. Right. Ideally, this will come to you as resin, so kind of a yellowish color. I would use either black or white primer to paint this, but black primer doesn't show up very well in videos, so I wouldn't be able to show you the detail, and I'm honestly out of white primer. So I will be working from this blue color, moving it up to white, or I will eventually just reprime it in white, which is fine too. This model behind it used the same process, so this seal that I painted in the background was blue. This very same blue worked up to white. And I actually made a point to keep some of the blue on her to give this sort of cold feel. I don't know that I'll do that necessarily with this bird. I might just go straight to white and then work on shading it in other ways. So for your rewards, when you get this bird, many of you, I'll have to check the back rewards to figure out exactly what level it is, but many of you will also be getting a special card that comes with it, familiar to you if you got the last Kickstarter. So these were these special edition cards that told you a little bit about the character, gave you this pretty picture, and went along with it. This card actually goes with this figure right over here. Ellie will also get a card that will feature her picture, probably that one right there, and a little about the character. When we went through the sculpting process with this, we wanted to pick out a pose that was going to show a little bit about the character without giving things away. So we got this neat hand that she was perching on. We wanted to give you something dynamic, so these spread wings to work with, and just give you this neat position. Originally, we'd actually sculpted the push frame on her head, which if you look up at the main picture there, you can see that she's wearing that piece of jewelry up there. That's a push frame. That's an object from the Hexentriconus game that allows laterals, these non-morphic animals, to manipulate things via a sort of short-range telekinesis. And when we sculpted it on the head for an object this small, sorry about my finger there, it ended up looking a little lumpy, and we felt like it was just sort of distorting the overall figure. So we pulled it out of there in lieu of just giving you a cleaner face. And I think that was a good decision, seeing the model in person, because now you've got prettier feathers up there and a nicely described face and big structure. That works out really well. So that's just a little insight onto the design process and what you can expect to get when this model comes in.